name is Tiffany and welcome to my channel. I am an art teacher here in St. Louis and I got bored. So I'm starting a cooking channel called The Single Cook where I will be cooking my recipes and showing you how I do it. Some of them are going to be from scratch. Some of them are going to be round two recipes where I use previously made ingredients. Some of them are going to be cheats where I use boxed or prepackaged ingredients and then make them better. There will be a lot of different kinds of cooking on here, but it's all stuff that real people make. It's not going to be super chefy, but it will be delicious. So let's get started. So today I am starting with a roast chicken dinner. I'm planning on doing roast chicken, green beans, and potatoes. And then I will use the leftover chicken and the potatoes in a different recipe later on this week. So I am starting with a roasted chicken that somebody gave to me. It's not even something that I purchased. But when I roast a chicken, what I like to do is I like to take the skin off of the bird. Sometimes I use it for chicken skin nachos, and that may end up in a video on its own. But I will take a pair of kitchen shears, and I will cut the skin off of it. And I usually go right up the breastbone, and then I pull it away, kind of like a jacket, as I go. We're going to cut off the tail as well and any extra fat, and those things will go in my composter. So I will go ahead and do that and I will come back to you. Okay, I have moved you a little closer to my stove so that we can finish it. I have my chicken set aside in the sink and we're going to put it in a Dutch oven. Now I'm going to be using a 8-in-1 air fryer for my oven because it's June and it's hot. And nobody wants to set their whole oven on fire in the middle of summer. So what I'm going to start with is I have my empty Dutch oven. And I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to the bottom so that nothing sticks. And we're going to just kind of swirl that around a little bit so that it's nice and coated. Then I'm going to take my chicken, which has been rinsed. And I'm going to put my chicken in. I'm going to do breast side up. And I'm going to tuck the wings behind its head like it is taking a nap on the beach. I'm not going to bother tying up the legs because this Dutch oven is small enough that everything is right there where it needs to be. Let me wash my hands because once you touch chicken, wash your hands. Okay, that's all done. Now, the next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some butter on top. So let me get my butter. And I'm just going to put a couple of teaspoons just laid out right on top. I'm going to tuck one in next to each leg. So we've got about 4 to 5 teaspoons of butter. Now those will all melt down into the bottom of the pan and that will help. Next up, I'm going to do my seasoning. Now because I am going to be using parts of this for a round 2 recipe, I'm going to keep it kind of light on seasoning. I am going to do garlic powder and we're just going to go right over all top of that. I'm going to do some onion powder. This one's not open yet, so let's open that up. I'll just go right over top there. Onion powder. I'm going to do some sage. Just a little sprinkle of sage. I'm going to do this lovely mushroom rub. It's by Ozark Forest here in St. Louis, and I absolutely love this on everything. It's great on meats and gives a nice little touch to it. And then Oh, I'm not seeing it. Here. Ah, there's my rosemary. A little bit of rosemary. Not a ton, but maybe half a teaspoon. I'm going to crush it up as I drop it in. And of course, salt and some pepper. Now, if I was just doing the chicken for the only meal it was going to be used for, I would also add in things like thyme and maybe some oregano, or I would go a little bit heavier with the seasoning. I might even add in whole onions and garlic cloves, but because this is going to be a round 2 recipe as well, I'm going to keep it fairly light. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some hot water, and I'm going to pour the hot water over top of it, trying not to unsettle that butter, but if the seasonings run off into the broth, that is okay. So I'm going to pour just hot water from the sink, and we're going to do just enough to give us about an inch to an inch and a half in the bottom of the pan. So not even a full 2 cups of water. Now, if I was doing this like a giant turkey in my big roasting pan, let's put you up here so you can actually see my face. If I was doing it in a big roasting pan with a turkey, I would tent with foil underneath as well as above and then put a lid on. But because we're just doing a chicken in a Dutch oven, I'm going to put my lid on and I'm going to move it over to the air fryer. This is all I'm going to do to it right now. So let's move over. Welcome to the other side of my kitchen. So this is my air fryer. It's a big 8-in-1 thing that does wonderfully for a bunch of different things. Today we're going to use it to roast our chicken. So I'm going to open it, take out the extra tray that I don't need. And I am lucky that this fits directly in it with no issues whatsoever. Hey Google, turn on the air fryer.
Got it. Turning on air fryer on kitchen.
I have a smart outlet that I have to yell at every time I want to use it. So we're going to turn the power on. I'm going to set it to whole roast. And I'm going to set it for 375. And I usually do about 30 minutes per pound. This is about a 4-pound chicken. So I'm going to set it for 2 hours and then I will check on it. So let me set my time. And I'm going to hit start. And that is going to preheat on its own and then it will start to cook. So in the meantime, let's go back to the other side and we'll prep our veggies, our potatoes, and our green beans. Okay, we are back at the stove so that I can prep my veggies for roasting. So I'm going to start with 4 medium-ish potatoes. Now this is just for me, but I will be using the potatoes in a different recipe later on in the week, even though they've already been cooked at that point. So it'll be a round 2 for both the potatoes, actually all 3, the green beans and the chicken. So the way that I'm going to do this is I've already washed them. That's why they're all shiny and pretty. So I'm going to go in about 1/2 inch slices because eventually I'm going to want them dice sized, and if you can do the work now, why not do it? Once I've got it in 1/2 inch slices, I'm going to dice them up in about 1/2 inch cubes. We'll set those off to the side. And it doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little rough, and it can be a little smaller or a little bigger. It's up to you. I did not peel these because I do want that skin for the roasting, and it won't matter in the round 2 recipe. So I'm going to go through these real quick. I know this is the boring part of the video when you watch somebody chop things. one more potato left. Okay, so for our potatoes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that olive oil from before, and I'm going to put it all over my pan. A couple tablespoons, just enough to kind of coat the bottom of the pan. And then I'm going to take my potatoes, and I'm going to transfer them to that tray. And we're going to mix them around in the oil so that they get nice and coated. Try and keep them on the tray and not on your stove or counter. Now that these have all been lightly coated, I'm going to make sure that they are all in one layer. Let me wash my hands. Hands washed. Now we're going to crack some salt. We're going to do a little bit of pepper. Too much. Sprinkle that over top. And then I'm going to use some of the same seasonings that I used on my chicken, on my potatoes. I'm going to use a little bit of garlic powder. I'm going to use some of that onion powder. And I'm going to use some of that rosemary. Again, you can add whatever seasonings you would like. And if I was just doing it with the chicken, I would probably add more garlic and maybe some thyme to it as well. Shake that off, and we will set this aside for after our chicken is done. Now, my second tray I'm going to use is for the green beans. Now, my green beans are whole fresh green beans, so I will have to trim those. So I'm going to do that. And the way that I do that is that I just snip off the ends and the tips. And then I'm going to be cutting them into about 1-inch sections. And I'm going to put those on the tray as I go. And I won't make you watch me cut all of these green beans. Okay, welcome back. I have cut all of my green beans into bite-sized pieces. Some of them are a little bigger, some of them are a little smaller, but that's okay. They are bite-sized. I'm going to spread them out, and I'm going to use a little oil spray to spray over top of them to give them a nice little coating. It's not a ton, though. I know it probably looked like a ton, but it really wasn't. We're going to do a little bit of salt. Just a little. And a little bit of pepper. Now, I would also normally do things like garlic. I might add some bacon bits or use bacon fat, but I am going to be using these in a round 2 recipe as well. So these are staying fairly simple. And then all I'm going to do now is wait until my chicken is done, because I am going to be using that air fryer as well for my potatoes and my green beans. So I will see you when that is done. And I got hungry while waiting for things to cook. So this is actually in the middle of the roast chicken video, and we're going to make some chicken skin nachos. So let me reposition you so that you can see the pan. So I'm going to be using a cast iron pan for mine. I'm going to use some bacon fat to fry in. I don't need a whole ton. This is pretty liquidy, so we'll just pour that in. Drip. Now, I like to use bacon fat for frying. Sometimes I use half bacon fat, half oil, depending on what and how much I'm cooking. I'm going to light my stove. My stove is a little bit busted, so I have to light it with a lighter. Okay, so while that bacon fat goes nice and clear, we're going to use a knife to cut up our chicken skin. Now I'm going to do this into some pieces. Some of them are going to be a little bit bigger, some of them are going to be a little smaller. Just do the best you can. And if you hear it buzzing in the background, that is actually the air fryer cooking that roast chicken. I'm going to let the pan get nice and hot before I do anything though. And the chicken skin will shrink up quite a bit too. So it is okay if you have some bigger pieces. And I know some of you might be thinking, where did you even think about doing chicken skin nachos? Before I was a teacher, I worked in a hotel. I did overnight customer service, and the chef, when we first opened, Miss Chef Evie, made these, and I have stolen her recipe and turned it into something of my own. Now, she used different ingredients. She used, I believe, blue cheese and a special hot sauce that she made, which I don't have access to anymore because I don't see Miss Chef Evie. So I will be using some other ingredients like Parmesan and store-bought hot sauce, celery, and green onions. Let's trim this a little bit. My knife is not acting very sharp. I swear it is sharp, but it does not want to cut through. There we go. I'm going to cut this one off. That one has a bit more fat on it. And we're going to go right here. I did forget to grab one more thing before I actually start frying these, so let me wash my hands and then grab that. Okay, and the vital component that I forgot is paper towel, because you're going to need to drain it. So move that out of the way and just put that paper towel over there. I'm going to be using some tongs to help me out. Let me shift my grease over and let's start. Use my fingers to put these in, even though I just washed my hands. It's kind of a messy deal. Put those in, fat side down. turn that down. I decided to add in some oil to my bacon fat just because it was smoking pretty heavily and not reaching all the way across the pan. So we just added a little bit of canola oil to help ease up with the frying. I'm going to add some more to my pan. As the pieces shrink up, I'm going to add a bit more and a bit more. I'm going to put the lid on that and move it out of the way. Now, pat these dry a little. Get some of that extra grease off. And then we are going to arrange our pieces on our plate. And these shrunk up quite a bit, so don't be worried about that. They are nice and golden brown. Set that aside. Now, our toppings, because when you have nachos, you want toppings, right? So we are going to do a little bit of ranch drizzled over top. Let's see if I can do it. Just a little. We're going to add some hot sauce. Now, I had a bottle of amazing hot sauce, but I used it all and I haven't replaced it yet. So I'm actually going to be using hot taco sauce from Jack in the Box. I have a packet drawer that people make fun of me for, but it's free flavors that you get just when you are out and about. So if you're stopping someplace and you need hot sauce, hot taco sauce from Jack in the Box or Taco Bell also works really well. Now, as Chef Evie used blue cheese, I am actually going to be using Parmesan. Just a sprinkle of Parmesan. And then I'm going to top with some celery. And this is maybe a tablespoon or two of celery. We'll just put all of that. And then lastly, some green onion, whites and greens. I'm not going to use all of that though. Let's put that over there. And that is my chicken skin nachos. These are delicious. So happy. Such a great snack, especially when you're waiting on something to cook. Something like our roasted chicken. And I'm still waiting for that to finish up. It's got about 35 minutes left, but the smell was making me hungry. So, snack time. Welcome back to the other side of my kitchen. So my chicken, I've just checked on it, is all set. It's all done. So we're going to take that out and we're going to switch out some stuff. So we have our Dutch oven and our chicken is nice and brown. There is still some of that broth left at the bottom that has gotten all wonderful. Let me put this on the stove. And then we're going to add our other rack. And I'm going to add my potatoes on the bottom and my green beans on the top. And we're going to let those continue at the same temperature. We're just going to use up the remaining time left from that chicken. It only used about an hour and a half instead of the full 2 hours. So check your chicken, make sure it's good. At an hour mark, I did take the lid off of the pot so that I could get that nice browning on the top. So that is what I did, and now we wait some more. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, my timer has gone off for my air fryer, so I'm going to pull out the green beans and the potatoes. Our green beans are looking pretty good. And then our potatoes are also looking pretty good. They look like they have that nice crust on them. That is X. Now, I'm going to close this. I'm going to power it off. Hey Google, turn off the air fryer. And we are going to assemble our roast dinner. So let's swing back over to the other side of the kitchen. Welcome back to this side of the kitchen. So we are going to start by removing our chicken from the pan, and I've just let it sit in there while everything else was cooking. And I am going to use my hands because I am eating this chicken, not anybody else. Let that drip a bit. It is still very hot. And it looks like one of our wings came off. So we have our nicely roasted chicken. Now my pot is not hot, but the chicken was. I'm going to put that over there. Tongs down. And I'm going to move my plate onto my stove. I have washed my knife and I'm going to use it now to cut the pieces that I want. So I'm going to go right down the breastbone. And actually, let me switch. I'm going to go with the shears instead, just to cut through that more easily. And I'm going to cut this into a couple of pieces. I'm going to cut my breast and wing away on both sides. Actually, let me use this plate. We have our two breasts, and we'll go with that wing and this wing right up there. And then I'm going to go right up the back side to get our thigh pieces. And then I have my back carcass. Now, how do I want to do this? Let me get some containers. We're going to put the back carcass in one bowl along with the wings. And then I'm going to use a separate container for the breasts. I will be using these in different recipes. Go ahead and pull that bone out. I don't need to keep that. And lastly, I'm going to put one of these legs and thighs in a separate bowl, and that will be a different meal altogether. So we have our leg and thigh. Let me get these scraps here, and we will clear away the cutting board and rinse our hands. And then let's assemble the rest of our dinner tonight. So the rest of our dinner tonight is going to be some of these potatoes. We'll go with 2 slides. And I'm going to use the same spatula to get some of our green beans right here on the side. And then the rest I'm going to be saving for a round 2 recipe. So our finished dinner for tonight is chicken, roast potatoes, and green beans. And that completes our roast dinner recipe for today. Now I am going to be using the rest of that meat and the rest of those potatoes and green beans in a future recipe. And I hope you'll come back to see what it is I make with that. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Tiffany, and I am the Single Cook.